like, look, you can't do this bodybuilding thing and be my sales guy, because you can't walk into meetings at fucking GM at 285 pounds sweating like a pig. And I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
I can see that.
Yeah. So I said I quit. And he goes, what the hell are you talking about? You don't have a job. Like, you're bodybuilding. It doesn't make you any money. And I said, I'll figure it out. And it was at that point, I was kind of like, I put myself in a corner, and I was like, okay, if I don't do this thing, if I don't actually become successful at this, I've just kind of closed both doors between having a pretty good sales job and, leaving school. So it's kind of like exactly what you said. It's you put yourself in a corner and you kind of find your way out somehow.
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to another episode of It's Just Bodybuilding with my co-host Dusty Hanshaw and myself, Big Ron Partlow. And on today's show, Fouad Abiad. You know him, you love him, you probably watch one of his shows on It's Just Bodybuilding. Hey Dusty, how's it going this morning?
Living the dream, man. We're a day late and early. It's like we're late and early.
Yeah, we're a day late and we're 2.5 hours early. So it's a bit of a weird time to record, but we moved the recording time because this is the only time Fouad could come on.
Our most needy guests ever right now.
Yes. We will bend over backwards to get the people that we think will be great guests. So we're excited to have Fouad on. But before we bring him on, remember, everybody, we appreciate you watching the show, spreading the word. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification button so you can follow along with everything we're doing, and you'll get notified of all the new episodes because we're coming out every Wednesday no matter what. So just remember that. It's Just Bodybuilding. We're not going to stop. You ready for Fouad, Dusty?
Let's get it going.
Okay, we're going to call him up.
We're all here.
There you go.
What's up, Dusty?
It's a good word. Look at this backdrop. It's like that's marketing. Like
no, I love it.
One. It's phenomenal.
All I had was a Jay Cutler poster that he signed. That was the best I could do so far.
I have a wall that shows I'm not homeless, which is cool.
Yeah,
try and sell some supplements, man.
No, I love. That's what I want to start with. Let's just start straight with how you're doing, Fouad. Your podcasts are just killing it. Everyone's talking about. What you're doing. I love your shows, both of them.
Thank
you. You're doing a great job, like to the right to the backdrop that you're sitting in front of. Like I noticed it immediately when you started using it, and just how do you feel about everything right now?
Terrified, if you want the honest truth. It's like it's weird, it's almost a really familiar feeling from when I was 20 years old, and I said I was going to start bodybuilding, and people were like, you're crazy. You're never going to make it, and you're going to suck, and you're not going to make any money. And I'm just like, all these really familiar talking points are kind of coming back at me. Mm-hmm. And it's almost my own self-doubt, because I had that same self-doubt when I started bodybuilding, but you kind of just push through it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the same thing's happening now. It's like, well, there's a million supplement companies, and what makes your brand better, and blah, 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 and all these things. And you start to have your own kind of doubts, and
you've heard this before.
It's like I've been down this road, you know what I mean? So, but I'm doing the same thing I did when I was bodybuilding, and that's like I'm just going to keep pushing forward and keep doing things the best I know how, and hope that I can put out a quality product that everybody likes, kind of thing. But it's exciting and scary at the same time.
That's a good thing to drive you, though, right? I mean, I know when I bought my first business, when a bank loaned a 24-year-old kid $500,000, I was I told my wife at the time, I said, well, we're going to make it work because we fucking have to.
Yeah.
I'm screwed if this doesn't work, so we'll figure this shit out. You know what I mean?
You're 100% right, because that's the exact same feeling I had when I started bodybuilding too, because I think I started at 20, and then around 23 or 24, I had a couple decisions to make, because I had left school at 22, I think. So that was the first decision. And then at 23, I was working a pretty good sales job where I was making like, I don't know, $60,000 a year, at a company car, company phone, the whole bit, which is good at 23.
for sure.
And my brother, it was my brother's company, and he's like, look, you can't do this bodybuilding thing and be my sales guy, because you can't walk into meetings at fucking GM at 285 pounds sweating like a pig. And I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
I can see that.
Yeah. So I said I quit. And he goes, what the hell are you talking about? You don't have a job. Like, you're bodybuilding. It doesn't make you any money. And I said, I'll figure it out. And it was at that point, I was kind of like, I put myself in a corner, and I was like, okay, if I don't do this thing, if I don't actually become successful at this, I've just kind of closed both doors between having a pretty good sales job and, leaving school. So it's kind of like exactly what you said. It's you put yourself in a corner and you kind of find your way out somehow.
I laugh sometimes because I sort of like, the whole choose bodybuilding over everything else. That was my story too. That's Dusty's story too. Like we all chose bodybuilding over everything else.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I would be horrified if I actually gave anybody that advice.
I would never give that advice.
It's crazy. I've actually had people come up. Listen, I have a kid right now that, we're not sponsoring any athletes, but I have a couple friends, acquaintances that I like, that I kind of like, look, you guys, you might be able to come on board if we're doing okay. But so we brought on this one kid from Michigan, and he's studying to be a dentist. Sorry, he's in dental school. He's studying to be a dentist.
Okay.
And he's like, he did his first show, and he's like, man, I don't know if I want to go back to school. And I was like, I'm like,
whoa.
Yeah, I'm like, calm the fuck down a little bit. Dentists make a lot of money. But just like you guys, I can't, and I don't even know this kid. Like, he's just like a friend, acquaintance, and I'm still like, whoa. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, go back to school.
I cannot advise that you do what I did.
Well, because honestly, it's crazy. People don't really understand because they're not in it. It's anybody who owns a small business would understand, I think. Mm-hmm. But it's even harder because sometimes it's totally out of your control. Like, the reason I wouldn't advise is not because I have any regrets about my career. I love everything I've done, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But at the same time, there's a lot of terrifying moments where you might lose a contract, or you might get hurt, or you might. And it's like sometimes it's completely out of your control. Like, if you own a small business, it's more mental, and it's all like, okay, if I do these steps and I take care of them every day, my business will survive. Whereas in bodybuilding, it's a small business, but it's also related to your body and how it's reacting. Like, are you healthy internally? Are you tearing muscles? Are you there's all these other things that go into it that your financial abilities are going to relate to. That, I don't know if that's the reason I would never tell anybody else to do this, because there's so many unknowns as you kind of get through your career.
Yeah.
That you just kind of have to manage. You kind of have to manage this, drive this ship and hope that you just kind of stay on course.
Do you, there's certain people in the industry that I look at as having played the long game. And you're one of them. And, John Meadows would be one of them. He's talked about that a lot, playing the long game, making sure you're, integrity, and you don't do things that aren't, you know what I mean? Like, you don't do things in your career that you're going to regret. And, how do you feel about, thinking, about where you come from, 2006 turning pro to now? Does that seem like a long time to you?
It's a fucking eternity.
I was going to say, let's just do the math. It is a long time.
No, but it feels, actually, some days it feels like I turned pro yesterday, and some days it feels like I'm an old fucking man.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just depends on the day. But as far as playing the long game, I didn't at first. I didn't know any better. When I turned pro, I was still 27. I just did whatever I could to get known. There was certain things I wouldn't do. I remember and not to everybody makes their own choices. But for me, it was like, I had some of those websites message me that were like, they want to do a photo shoot like in a shower with your fucking posing trunks on and shit. I'm like, okay, I'm not going there. Like I can see like down the road, and I don't want that kind of shit out there. So I made some good choices, but I also made some really bad ones. Like I pushed the envelope with drugs a little too much. Not for long. There was probably 2 years there where I pushed it too hard. I didn't think longevity, and also my attitude. I was a cocksucker when I was younger. I didn't treat people right. I don't think I treated all my fans properly. I thought I felt entitled, like they should just be my fans just because. And it took a lot of fucking growing up. Like, I think I grew a lot from 30 to 40. Oh, and actually, wow. And to tell you the truth, John played a huge hand in that, because John became more of a mentor than just a coach. Like I watched John interact with people. I watched the way John would talk to people, and getting back to emails and getting back to fans, and like just the actual appreciation he felt. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, you know what? This is a better way. Like this is a fucking real human being. Like I was being a dick. So I grew up a lot between, 32, 35. It was a huge difference. And then 35 to 40 was like an even bigger jump. Like, I don't think I could do the podcast thing when I was 30, because I was like, why isn't anybody talking to me?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I would call you for the podcast. I'd be like, hey, Ron, ask me some questions.
Right.
You were actually a podcast of getting interviewers.
Yeah.
To interview.
Yeah, so it's like just too fucking selfish, you know what I mean? So it took a lot of growing up. So as far as the long game goes, back to your question, John's the one who taught me. So when you mentioned John, it's funny because that's kind of where I learned to have more respect and be more patient and not be so impulsive, and just there's a lot of different things I learned from John without him even telling me. Just like when you're around somebody, you just kind of like you pick up things that you didn't have.
Well, they say you become the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. Yeah, and that's incredibly important. And the older I get, the more I look back, and I feel like I'm a bit lucky with some of the decisions I made, because I always had really good friends. I didn't keep like those toxic shithead friends around that you got to go bail out of jail at 2 a.m. and I wouldn't have been friends with Dusty when I was younger. It would have been too much trauma.
Now he's got 4 other people that are solid, so I got
so I could be friends with him, and it's okay.
You are the weakest link.
So yeah, man, it's but it is cool to see where you're at now. You kind of want to see the good guys do well, and we all know there's people that are going on social media, and they're kind of everything that we consider wrong with the industry. The bullshit and the crazy drug stuff, and that sort of stuff. So when you started Real Bodybuilding, and you started punching out, like you've had all quality guests. What do you find is like when fans write Dusty and I think Dusty and I will agree, like I get messages from people that say stuff like, since I started watching your show, my training is the best it's ever been, because we talk about training hard all the time. What are some of the things people message you? What do they take away from watching you? What do you find repeatedly is coming up?
Not the show with Luke, though, because that's going to be a lot of anal stuff. I want you to...
Yeah, that's another animal.
The show with Luke is not even a show. It's just fun.
He's like, don't talk about it.
No.
I don't know why even people fucking watch that shit. No, but...
It's the only one I watch. What are you talking about?
Yeah. No, honestly, the best compliment I've ever gotten on the Real Bodybuilding podcast is when people say, I had no idea that guest was like that. I like him so much more now. Because the whole reason I started that podcast is so dickheads like, Anthony Huge and fucking, I don't even want to go down the list. There's just a fucking huge list of assholes that pretend to represent bodybuilding that don't represent bodybuilding.
Yeah, at all.
There's zero integrity in anything they say. It's like, oh, my friend said he did 6,000 milligrams a week, so this is what you should do. It's like, just shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. So I wanted to start the podcast so people could actually listen to the pros talk about what they do. And some of the guys want to talk. Some of the guys didn't mind saying, you know, I do this much test or this much this, and some guys don't want to talk about it. But invariably, the most important part of the show was I wanted people to see the guys I saw and who they really were, and not just these fictional beings that fucking other people talk about.
Right.
So, like, for example, I had like Sergio Olivier on, right? Mm-hmm. And Sergio has like kind of a reputation on Instagram and whatever, but I know he's not like that guy that people like say he is, right? He came on, we did an hour-long podcast. A lot of the comments were like, man, I had no idea it was like that. I'm such a fan now, blah, blah, blah. Same thing I had when I had Cedric on. Everybody talks shit about Cedric. Like, honest to God, 80% of the comments were like, man, I had no idea. He's such an awesome guy. So that was the primary goal of mine, was to say, look, you guys don't know what you're talking about. All you're hearing is secondhand information from really shitty sources.
Right.
So I want to bring on these guys and ask them questions about themselves that are deeper than just bodybuilding, and have you guys say, oh, that's an actual person. It's not just a fucking meathead I get to make fun of on Instagram, or like somebody I can leech information from. It's an actual person.
Do you think that Cedric interview was one of your kind of most like surprising interviews? I watched that one.
Surprising how?
Well, I had a lot of people mention to me that they thought the Cedric interview was like, first of all, they loved it.
Yeah.
But they were like, wow, he's got, you know, how he talks about like the self-confidence stuff. They were just completely blown away by that.
Well, everybody is by us when we talk like that. Like, a lot of us don't like to share that side of us. And I've done a podcast, like my second podcast I ever did when I was doing it by myself, was about anxiety.
Right.
And people are shocked to hear that somebody that weighs 300 pounds and he's like goes on stage in his underwear and is like always in front of a camera, whatever, and somebody's popular as Cedric would be shy or have anxiety or not like to be in front of people.
Right.
So it's surprising that way. It wasn't surprising for me because me and Cedric have had these conversations a lot of times.
Yeah.
But yeah, people were shocked because they're like, this guy's 6'1", he's like good looking dude, he's a fucking drill sergeant, whatever, all these accolades, and yet he's just a normal dude like the rest of us with his own insecurities.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's really refreshing, and I think it's really good when someone that important and that in the public eye says, yeah, I deal with these things too. I got so many emails from people that were like, man, I feel so much better about myself. I had no idea other people dealt with this shit.
Right.
And that's why I talk about it, because I think but Cedric's on an even higher level than I am. So when somebody at that level, a top tier bodybuilder, is going to say all these things, you're like, holy shit. Like, what a revelation. You know what I mean?
What about yourself? Like, which one of your guests have any surprised you?
I haven't been on yet, but yeah.
You were supposed to come on.
I promise I'm going to knock him dead in a minute. I'm leaving some shit in the back.
I don't know what guest surprised me the most. You know which guest I had? You know, it's part of my anxiety is this, and I don't know if people ever realize this, but I'm actually not good at talking to people that I don't know really well. So it would be really stupid to start a podcast to talk to people that you don't know. But I kind of decided that I'm
going to do it anyways.
Yeah, that's right. I just like to put myself in really shitty situations.
Yeah.
Summer's shaking her head. What are you doing right now?
Actually, Summer was shocked. She's like, you're pretty good at this. And I'm like, and because she knows I'm not good at like talking to people just normally. So she's like, I'm shocked that you're actually doing this, and it's pretty good.
But it's not terrible.
Yeah,
that's pipe shit right there. It's not nearly as bad as I thought it would be.
I can't believe you're good at this. You don't even like anybody.
No, I wasn't. I don't know if I was surprised by anybody. I think what I can say is one of my favorite guests was Branch.
Okay.
Branch was surprising to me only because of how much he opened up.
Yeah.
Because you hear Branch talk about a lot of things bodybuilding related.
Right.
But for some reason, we've always gotten along, but on a work friends kind of level. And I don't think I got him to open up. I felt like he felt comfortable enough that we talked about his past, and we talked about his upbringing, and we talked about, how he grew up poor. And that was one of the coolest things, because I got those same emails from people saying, holy shit, Branch has never talked about any of this stuff. I had no idea he went through all those things growing up. Mm-hmm. So I guess that would be one of my most surprising guests, and also one of my favorite, because I was like, holy shit, there's so much about this person that I've admired that I had no clue about.
Yeah, that was a great interview.
Yeah, it kind of just went really well. So then I've had some guests that didn't go so well, but I don't know. It's not.
We've had guests that we thought didn't go well, and then we got huge reviews back. We're like, oh, sweet, because that was terrible.
No.
Yeah, you never know. Like,
I've had guests that I thought didn't go well, and then it didn't go well. Like, people just didn't. But it's. I think when it comes to podcasting, like, if people want to hear a different side of you, so right. if the guest doesn't open up about his personal life in any way, then it's not. It becomes very interview-ish. And I tell people all the time when they come on, I'm like, it's not an interview, it's a conversation.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Let's just shoot the shit and then see where it goes. And some people have an easy time doing that, and we talk for like an hour, and it goes to like all these different places. And some people just treat it like an interview, and it give you like a one-word answer, and it's just not going anywhere. So it's tough. It's not easy for me to do, and I have doubts, and I get nervous every single show. I don't know if you guys go through that at all. I don't know if you guys have any, like, maybe it's easier. Maybe it's easier. Well, no, maybe it's easier because there's two of you, because you can bounce off each other a little bit.
For sure.
Well, I sort of look at it as I'm carrying Dusty along, but I get it.
It's the story of our lives, really. I make the bad decisions. He makes sure I don't get arrested. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I am definitely that friend.
How is the show going on your end? Are you guys doing well?
Yeah, we're getting tremendous feedback. Like some of the stuff we hear back from people. I mean, like. I'm sure you've gotten these messages over your entire career. Is you get the message from the guy who tells you like that he was like, thinking of ending it all.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you heard an episode and you talked about some kind of struggle you had, and you're reading this message and you're like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
And like we've gotten some of those, and then just the heaps and heaps of like, man, I train so much harder now. I go to the gym with purpose, and I just all that sort of stuff that kind of makes you like.
Can I tell you one of the ones that bothers me though?
Yeah.
When I get the comments like, I used to watch RX and now I watch your show. RX sucks. Or I used to watch Dusty and this and Dusty and Ron. Now I watch, and I'm like. It doesn't have to be like, it's like you don't have to watch just one fucking show.
You have to choose. Now, remember, we got rammed on that on our YouTube because we did a Q&A, and so it was like, you're totally copying Fouad, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure Q&As have been around for a long time, and I copied people to success my entire life. So yeah. No,
but you know what though? The way I see it is, if there's real bodybuilders doing it, then it's good. It's just less of the jerk off guys that fucking don't know anything, and more of us actually doing something. Yeah. But it's like this. If you watch a sitcom, like let's say back in the day you watch a sitcom like Cheers, You wouldn't be like, well, I'm not going to watch Seinfeld. I watch Cheers only. You know what I mean?
Thursday is Cheers, and I'm off television for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
It's like you watch them all. So it's not like we're not competing. It's just like you can watch your show and then watch my show, and it's it's
Even
all
the
good.
guests change though, right? Though I mean, like we had James on, and I knew Hollingshead. I knew it was going to be good, but I wished either we had more time or you could have had an episode with him the next day.
Why?
Because it wasn't done yet. I told Ron, I'm like, we really needed about 2 more hours for that one, and I think people would have watched the whole fucking thing. Yeah. You know, because somebody, like you said with Branch, and then you're hearing shit, and you're like, oh, I didn't know this. Because we know each other in, 15-minute increments? I mean, when you see each other at shows and shit, hey, what's up, what's going on, I see you.
Yeah.
So when you meet them, I'm like, man, or on the flip, like getting like a Cedric on our interview would be a totally different experience. So someone could watch yours and ours of said, and be in a different planet. You know what I mean?
That's my exact point. Is just because you had, like, I talked to Aceto wants to come on.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you had Aceto on and I have Aceto on doesn't mean it's going to be the same questions, same interview, same interaction.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not a repeat. Like, it just, and I think people need to understand that they can watch more than one show. It's not like an allegiance. Like I have an allegiance to Dusty and Ron. I can't watch anybody else's show.
Now what are they going to do? You're on the show. They're not watching this one.
Now what are they going to do? Like, I can't watch this episode at all. Fuck it.
Yeah.
0 views.
Yeah.
No, it's been a very interesting process for sure. Like when we started, I mean, I went back and watched our first episode for a few minutes, and it's funny how, like, at the time I thought we did okay, and I look at the first episode, I'm like, holy shit, like we were
terrible.
We were terrible, like, you know what I mean? You get that flow going, and you get more comfortable, and I mean, you've done the same thing, but now the whole bodybuilding and bollocks thing with Luke.
Yeah.
So
greatest show ever.
Yeah. So just tell us, like, I know you had Luke on, and this is a story that I think I heard. You had Luke on, and you thought, shit, we should just do that every week.
Yeah, well, he's a clown. He's a fucking clown. Like, he's hilarious. Like, the guy makes me fucking laugh my ass off. So I'm like, and it's weird. It's like we have this dynamic. Like, I'm the serious guy, and he's the joker. And we bounce off each other really well, and people just fucking love it. And I'm like, you know what? The chemistry's good, and I'd like to do this more than once a week. Because at the time, I was only doing one real bodybuilding podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know what? Maybe I should add a second show and just do it with one person. So me and Luke decided to run with it, and people love it, man. We just talk about nothing. We talk about ass sex and fucking anal beads and fucking Luke's lawnmower and like just stuff, and how old I am and injured I am, and fucking it's just nonsense. But we do get some fan questions in and stuff. But people message me and they say that they love it because it's like a good mix of. They're like, I learned so much without actually learning. It's just. You guys are just, because it's,
I learned so much stuff that I shouldn't need to know.
No, because they're like, you guys are just shooting the shit, but I'm picking out little pieces of information while you're shooting the shit.
Yeah. So hey, you get some hilarious questions too. Like, I love the 4 different animals with the knives taped to them.
Oh, I found that somewhere, and I
was dying when I saw that.
I'm like, Luke, we have to discuss this one.
This is important shit.
The week before, we had discussed the duck-sized bears,
the giant duck or the mini bears.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, people loved it, and I actually had a lot of fun talking about it. So when I saw that photo on Instagram, I'm like, oh, this is fucking perfect, right? So
next episode, we have a highlight reel.
But I think people are getting the hint now, because when we first did it, and I would put up the post and say, me and Luke are doing a podcast, ask your questions. They were all bodybuilding questions.
Right.
And I put up the post yesterday, and I looked at the questions, and they're fucking ridiculous. They're like, would you rather drink a gallon of piss or a gallon of sweat? And I'm like, this is the kind of questions we're answering.
This is what I'm looking for. Well, I got my dog got tagged in one because someone asked when he was going to go to the UK to visit Luke's dog.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
I'm like, well, that's important. People need to know that shit for sure.
Yeah, no, but people have caught on now that it's just completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So there's some real questions in there, but there's a whole bunch of like just nonsense. So
the experienced viewers know where they're going.
Dude, this one woman asked if this woman asked if GH could be passed on through her boyfriend's sperm. She said my boyfriend is on GH. If he comes in me, can the GH pass? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking?
Only if it's in your ass. Everyone knows that.
Right, everyone. It's always straight to the butt sex. Everyone knows that's where it ends.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you know what? It's crazy. We're just fucking shooting the shit, and people seem to like it. And you know what? If I think back, and I think about like the '90s, if you could watch a show with like, any of your two favorite guys, not that I'm anybody, like I don't know if I'm anybody's favorite, but just two pros.
Right.
Just shooting the shit. And we do talk about some serious shit. Like last week, I told a story about buying a whole bunch of fake GH. That turned out to be insulin. That actually caused me some serious issues.
People mentioned that to me.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's cool that people get to watch their, pros and go, oh, okay, this is actually what they're doing. Oh, people message me like, man, I didn't realize you guys went through like buying fake stuff too. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, we're just like everybody else. Like sometimes it happens. So we kind of touch on a whole bunch of shit. But I'm like, if you could imagine like Chris Cormier and Dexter Jackson just talking.
Oh, right. God, yeah.
And talking shit about different like stuff they've used and different stories they've had. And like, I mean, I would have watched it. So
would have.
I think about that all the time. With all the, just the conversations we have, I've always told the Cito, like, because I usually fly him in for shows, and it's really just because I want to hang out for the weekend. It has nothing to do with bodybuilding. They're like, oh, why do you fly him in? Is it so he can see you better? I'm like, no, we kind of fuck around for hours at a time.
Yeah.
But I always said, man, if somebody recorded that, like, fly on the wall, I could make millions.
I know.
Especially not having nothing to do with me, just what shit a Cito says.
Yeah.
We didn't get to see the 90s guys in any way other than just the magazines.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So, they were superheroes.
Yeah.
Like I remember how, we just thought they were on another level because it had that mystique to it,
They weren't human.
They weren't human, and now it's like, the reality of everyone just being a normal person is just so evident. You watch them, be interviewed by Fouad or whatever, and you see that, it's like the Branch interview was spectacular. That was one of your best ones, and getting people to open up, like how James told us that mountain climbing story last week or last show, Dusty there.
Yeah.
And then you get messages from people, and they're like, "Oh, I cried listening to that."
Wow.
That sort of thing. Reminded them of something they went through, and sort of it's crazy. So we need bodybuilding and bollocks to balance out, to offset all the seriousness.
Did you, Fouad, I got a question on that, though, because I know I've told you before, when I first got into bodybuilding, you were doing a blog, basically, just typing them up like once a week. And through your entire career, you've kind of found the leading way to let people into your life. I mean, not extremely personal, but like I remember something basic when I first was bodybuilding, was you were spending a bunch of wasted money in a prep for a show, and I was like, I do that.
Oh, you mean
I
shopping,
blow money shopping online.
Online shopping. I remember your online shopping stuff.
But it's funny because you've done that through your career, and I remember that's why I identified with you, because I was getting ready for my first show. Yeah. You're a pro, and I was like, and it just kind of it brought that like, oh, we're the same.
Yeah.
And then when you see that, you've kind of advanced that as the way of reaching out, because I still follow what you do now and read some of your posts, whether it be pertaining to bodybuilding, business, whatever, and it really whether it was on accident or on purpose, you found a way to kind of bridge that gap. So people are like, oh.
When I look back at it, you're actually 100% right, but I didn't do it on purpose. It was kind of all I don't want anybody to think I'm smarter than I am.
You had a 10-year plan.
Yeah, no, yeah, oh yeah, I knew I was going to do.
Sat down with the guy.
Do vlogs. Yeah, no, I started on the bodybuilding forums. I always, you know what, being from Canada, and Ron would know this. You could be the best bodybuilder in the world back in the day, and nobody know who the fuck you were. Now it doesn't matter where you're from, because now everybody's on Instagram, and you see, you know, Chris Bumstead, you see, you know, Reagan, and everybody knows who everybody is. But back when we were turning pro in the early 2000s, you know, when the magazines were out, the magazines wouldn't cover Canada, so you'd have a little blurb like this big, like, okay, Fouad Abiad turned pro, he fucking whatever, you know.
Misspell your name and not worry.
Yeah, they even spell my name wrong most of the time. It was like whatever, right? But so my objective was, if this is going to be my career, I have to get out there somehow. I have to, because the magazines are going to do it for me. So I started with the bodybuilding forums. I started on Chad Nichols' forum, and I started on some of the other forums, just posting photos and trying to like talk to people there. And that gave me a little bit of traction. Then I was like, the blog thing wasn't, I liked it because the feedback I would get, because people, like you said, Dusty, would actually message me and go, I feel that way too, and I just started. Right. And I would always tell people, it doesn't matter if you're fucking a 10-year pro or if you're a first-year competitor, we still both get hungry, we still both get cranky, we still both like feel all those things.
Right.
But I just used to, for me, it was almost therapy. Once a week, I would sit down, and it was kind of like my journal, and I would just get out all my thoughts, and people seemed to resonate with it. So, and there was nowhere else in bodybuilding that was doing that at the time, like where they were being that honest or open about it. And then from there, I don't know, I started doing Instagram. I wasn't great at it, but I just treated it like a diary again. This is what I'm doing today, blah, blah, blah. People kind of gravitate to it a little bit. And then the podcast thing, I just, you know, the only reason I started it was I wanted to do more stuff on YouTube, and I didn't know how. I was like, I wanted to do like a car show first. I was going to do like, you know, interview bodybuilders that have cars. I was going to connect it to bodybuilding that way. Like, and then I'm like, okay, that's a little much. Maybe I can just do this thing over here, because I used to watch Joe Rogan's podcast all the time, like every day. I still do. And I'm like, maybe I can do that with bodybuilders. So that's kind of where it started. And then, you know, it's kind of taken off. But none of these things were ever like planned that, okay, this is how I'm going to stay relevant. I'm going to do this and that and whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I just kind of try and do things that work. Sometimes they flop. Like I did, I tried doing some webinars, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like the seminars online.
Yeah.
I think I did like 3, and like 4 people watched them, and I was like, this is shit. So I dumped it. So, you know, you have to just try stuff and see what works and what doesn't. The podcast thing, I did it. Ron was my first guest, actually. And
was that your very first episode?
I had done some by myself.
Right.
But you were my first guest show.
Awesome.
And, I listened to that one. It wasn't terrible. Good job, guys.
No, it was pretty good.
I got great feedback over that episode, by the way.
I know you did. A lot of people, you know what, that's the other thing I'm really happy about. Like Justin Compton was on, and I think this happened to Chris Tuttle as well. So they came on, and I let them just talk about different nutrition and whatever. And I don't think people realize how smart some of these guys are.
Right.
So when you have them on and you hear them on a podcast, you're like, holy shit, that guy is really smart. Maybe I'll hire him. Justin told me like a month after he was on the podcast, he was still getting messages about coaching from the podcast. So like people had heard him on the podcast and realized how smart he was, and they wanted to get coaching from him. I think the same thing happened to Chris Tuttle. So that's actually one of my favorite things to happen to the show, is it's benefiting the guys in other ways.
It's hilarious you mentioned that, because I just got a client this week who didn't know about me until he saw me on your show.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like I love that. I just
got a new client this week who's like, yeah, the first time I saw you was on Fouad's show, and I really liked what you guys were talking about, and you know, and he had some injuries too. So remember we were talking about injuries, and training and pain and all that stuff, and he was like, yeah, man, you guys got me, you know,
identified with the old guys. He jumped right in on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been like I said, none of it was planned, but I just have to. I think if you're going to be a bodybuilder, you can't just stick to, like, if it's going to be your career, it's going to be your foundation for your finances. You can't sit on your fucking ass. Like, you can't. It's just like your body. Like, if you're not getting better every year, you're getting worse.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I think the same thing goes for your career financially. If you're not constantly trying to turn over stones and find new ways to connect, you're just standing still. You're not gonna. People are gonna pass over you. You can't just do. You know, I see some people on Instagram, like, one thing will work. They'll post one thing and they'll get a lot of traction, and they'll start posting the same thing like every day. And I'm like, nobody wants to watch that shit. All, like, it has to be. You have to stay kind of fresh. Yeah. So I know that's kind of my whole thing, is just trying to find new ways to stay relevant, because let's face it, if you're not a top tier bodybuilder, if you're not a Cedric, like, Cedric can post once a month. It doesn't matter. He's going to be popular because he's Cedric and he fucking kills it on stage.
Yep.
But if you're not a top tier bodybuilder and you still want to make a living, then you have to turn over every fucking stone. It's just the way it is. So
I always joke with people that I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm like, I do marketing.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm in sales and marketing. They're like, what? But you're out. Like, no, not really. I'm not very good at that at all. But
that's right. No, you're right. You know,
but I found a way to make money amongst these freaks.
Right. No, I'm partners with my wife and my brother in the supplement company.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother has been in business for like 20 years now. And he owns like 5 businesses. So I
got to stop you for 1 sec just to tell you how awesome I think it is that you quit your brother's job 15 years ago, and now he's partners.
Now he's my partner. Yeah.
Now he's partners with a sweaty 285-pound guy.
See that? He's got to fucking deal with me anyways. That's right. So,
okay.
No, so he's the CFO. So he's the financial backing of the company.
Mm-hmm.
And Summer is. I really couldn't do it without Summer, to be honest with you. Summer runs the entire back end, pretty much.
Yeah, she's got all that experience.
She just has so much experience from working at different supplement companies that she just knows, you know,
magazines, everything. Yeah.
And when I see the stuff she's doing, I'm like, I'm glad she's on my side. That's all I have to say, right? So, but it's funny. My brother's like, "You're the marketing team." I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, you're my sales guy. He's like, I'm like, fuck you. I'm a partner. I'm a part owner. He's like, no. He's like, you're just the fucking sales guy. Go out and sell.
See, that's like us on this show, Ron. And people tell all the time, like, so how do you get? I had somebody ask me, how'd you guys get it all set up with all 3 of your cross? I'm like, I don't know. I hang up the phone and the next day it's up. I don't know what the fuck happens. Scott handles everything and makes it work.
Yeah. Do you do everything yourself with your shows, Fouad? Like, who's helping you?
I do everything myself.
Everything.
I do the graphics. You know what? This is Seth Feroci's fault. So Seth Feroci, no. In a good way. This is a compliment. So I used to see Seth Feroci, like, so when Seth came back, he just blew up, right? Everybody was like, Seth Feroci's the fucking man. And I would
look, new man.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So he would put up these graphics, and then he would do the clothing, and he would do that. And I'm like, I would look, and I'm like, I think I could fucking do that. But I couldn't do it properly. Like, my shit sucked when I would try doing it, right? I'm like, he's got to have a team. But I didn't know. I thought it was just him. I thought he was doing the graphic. I come to find out there's like 2 or 3 other people helping him. I'm like, okay, now this makes sense. So I didn't feel as bad about myself, but I didn't have the 2 or 3 other people to help. So I just kept trying to figure it out. I'm like, okay, got to buy the microphone, got to set up the YouTube, I learned how to do some graphics. And I kind of just been doing it all myself. And it's like, it's really time consuming. It's like, it's the smallest shit. And it's probably because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But like building the thumbnail for YouTube takes me like half an hour. And I'm like, it probably takes a design guy like 2 minutes.
Right.
So it just, the stuff comes really time consuming, but I do it all by myself. And it's all because of Seth's inspiration. because I'm like, I watch people, I watch everything, and I'm like, okay, what's this guy doing? What's that guy doing? And it's not imitation. It's just, it's inspiring. And you're like, okay, how can I put my twist on this and do something similar?
Right.
And when I saw him doing all the stuff he was doing, I realized I was really bad at the business of bodybuilding. I had been so focused on just like building my body that I had let go of all these other things that people have been doing to build their brand, like Flex Lewis and Jay Cutler. And Flex Lewis has had t-shirts for 20 years. Jay Cutler's had his own company for 20 years with t-shirts and all this stuff. And it's like, I've been really bad at the business of bodybuilding, never really focused on it. And after seeing Seth come out doing his thing, I'm like, you know what? It's time to really focus on everything. And I think that's why I started the podcast. That's why I started the clothing line. That's why, because I'm like, there's no reason why all these guys can do it and I can't. So
how do you plan to manage all of it and competing again?
That's the fucking $1 million question. I don't know. It's all going to go to shit as soon as I start dieting. A friend of mine told me, I was like, yeah, I got to start. Hopefully, I'm going to do a show in the spring. And he's like, don't do it. And I go, what do you mean? He's like, your podcast is going to go to shit. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it'll be fine. He's like, do you know how big an asshole you are when you're dieting? He's like,
that might make it better.
Well, it might make the one show in Luke better.
Yeah, no, he's like, no one's going to want to talk to you, dude. He's like, no one's going to want to sit through your shit. He's like, don't compete. Just focus on the business, right? And I'm like, but in all honesty, I think I can do it. I think I'm kind of training myself now. I had a really tough time when I started with the podcast and the clothing and everything, because a lot of people don't know this, but I pack my own stuff. Like, I don't have a fulfillment center or anything. Like, I pack all the clothing. I order all the clothing. I do everything. Mm-hmm. And I had a tough time because when I started, I'm like, okay, I would start uploading something, and then I would pack some orders, and next thing I know, I'd missed a meal. And this kept happening. And then some days I actually missed the gym, and I'm like, this is not, that's not like me at all. I'm like, I'm on top of my shit. So it took me a couple months to like get a rhythm where I could like, start uploading something, go make a meal. At nighttime when I'm not podcasting or anything, I can pack some orders for the next day. So it's just really like
systems.
It's time management. Yeah, it's just time management because, everybody has every excuse in the world for not. This is all the excuses I used in my past. Oh, I can't do the t-shirt thing because I got to get my meals in. And let's be honest, man. If you have a contract, have a full-time job, you're probably sitting on your ass like 80% of the time.
Yep. You
say you're fucking busy, but you're not busy. You're sitting on your fucking ass. You're just waiting to get your meals in. You're watching TV. Then you go to the gym, and that's your whole day. Mm-hmm. So that was my day anyway. So I took all this free time I had, and I was like, this is this is ridiculous. I can't sit here and pretend I'm busy.
Right.
So, especially when I had surgery on my tricep, I had all this free time. I couldn't even go to the gym anymore. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I got to start doing more shit. So I had already started doing the clothing thing. Then when I kind of messed up my arm, I couldn't go to the gym. So I'm like, I'm going to start podcasting. And then I started podcasting, and now I feel better. And I've set up I've set up my time system so I can get to the gym. I can do the podcast. I can ship the clothes. It's just not being lazy, man. It's just not being lazy. So I think I can do it. I really think I can manage it. And I also think fans are understanding. I think if like I get 4 weeks out from a show and I'm really mentally fucked, I can say in a podcast, look, I'm probably going to shut down for a few weeks, guys. I'll be back. Mm-hmm. And I think people will really understand.
Well, yeah, you got that kind of loyalty with that. That's why I asked, was because that was how I made the terrible decision, good decision, to pick bodybuilding. As I had my business and I had bodybuilding, and they both were growing, and I hit a point where I could only be 50-50. Like, I could be decent at both.
Yeah.
Or try to chase one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all I could think about was like my competition in the sports nutrition world. All they thought about was how to make money.
Yeah.
And all I was thinking about was that after my meals, after traveling to Germany, after, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it came down to like, I can only do bodybuilding now. I can buy another business anytime.
What was your business, Dusty?
I owned 5 sports nutrition stores, retail stores.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it was tough. Is I would be like in Germany, we'd do like a body power day, go to the gym, come back. When everyone else went to sleep, thank God I don't sleep, I would log onto my computers and work all night.
Oh.
Do the orders, do all that shit.
Yeah.
But after about a year of that, I was like,
Yeah.
I think I might die.
Yeah.
This isn't working, and like where you're at now, I didn't have anybody else.
Yeah.
They could run the day-to-day in the stores, but there's no way they could do the things that I do, and you couldn't not do them for a week.
Yeah.
So it came time to choose. That's why I was curious, because I know you've been experienced enough that you're looking at that, and you have your wife and your brother and all that too, but the impact you have as the sales guy is enormous. So it's like, it's going to be finding that way to utilize what you're doing in prep to sell the supplements would be cool, actually, I think.
Well, I think that's actually a really good point. So I've applied to the Arnolds to possibly do the Arnold show, the Arnold Columbus, because that's my favorite show of all the shows.
Right.
And I don't know if they're going to accept me because I haven't competed in 3 years. Like the last show I did, which is crazy. I can't believe it's been 3 years.
I can't either.
Yeah.
Well, because I keep prepping and I keep hurting myself. So it's like I feel like I did those shows even though I never got there.
To get some fresh locker room pictures about 3 weeks out.
That's right, yeah. So, no, but the last show I did was the Arnold Columbus in 2017. So when I tried to apply last year, they said to me, I don't think we can approve you because you didn't compete last year. So I don't know if that's going to be the same answer this year too. But I've applied anyway. And the good thing about it is what you just said is I think if they approve me, I'll start prepping for it. Like I've already dropped a bunch of weight. So I'm down to like 270 now. But I'll start prepping for it and the company will launch right around the same time I get on stage. And I think that will all be very good hype for the company, and it will give people a reason to follow. Because it's hard, it's hard to keep people interested in the off season when you're not really like posting a lot of great photos and shit, and people don't have a transformation to follow and stuff. So I feel like if they do accept me for the Arnolds, it'll give me a chance to add to the marketing for the company because we'll be launching right around the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I see that.
But it's going to be, but like you said, it's going to be tough. I don't know. I think when the company launches, for sure, the nice thing is we're going to have a fulfillment center in Chicago. So I won't have to do any of the packing, any of the ordering. I don't have to do any of that shit. I'll just have to do like you said, the selling. I'll be online all the time.
Right.
So I think we can manage it.
The one thing that I really like about the positioning that you've done with your brand is it just goes down to like the name Hostile.
Yeah.
I know that. I think I know the story, but where did the nickname Hoss come from? And when did you realize that Hostile was a name? Because you started using it on your shirts and stuff like that.
I remember that part. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's the coolest name. I love it.
Thanks, but I didn't actually want to use it, to be honest with you.
Really?
Get the fuck out.
It's just awesome.
I didn't. It was actually Summer who convinced me and a couple other people. We were going to partner with a couple other people that kind of backed out, and one of them was a marketing guy. So him and Summer both thought that Hostile was great, and I was like, I don't want to call it fucking Hostile. I don't want to connect it to me.
Right.
Because the thing is this, my vision, I like that it's connected to me on the periphery, but I didn't want it directly connected to me because I'm like, there's going to come a day where I'm not competing.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't want to be like, I want it to be a more generic name so that when, 10 years down the road, if it's huge and everything's going well, there's other athletes, it's not connected to me. It's just its own entity. But they said they kind of convinced me that could happen anyway. It doesn't mean just because it's called Hostile that it's only you. People are going to understand that it's a different brand and it's its own brand in itself. So, but actually that was the name Hoss was given to me by a friend a long time ago because I used to get extremely fat in the off season. And we would use it as like a verb. He would be like, "You're a fucking hoss, man." He's like, or we would say like, if we're eating, we'd be like, "I'm hossing out tonight," and we would fucking just eat like a fuckload of food. But so it just kind of stuck. It's like, the big oaf guy who's just always like, So that kind of stuck. It was no big deal. And then Hostile was actually given because of the way I trained, because I don't know, I had a reputation for training extremely intense.
Yep.
And it was actually a fan who hashtagged one of my posts, and he wrote, "That's hostile training." And I was like, how fucking cool is that? And I liked it because that's how I trained at the time. I can't train like that now because I'll just get injured. But at the time, it fit. So I started to kind of run with it a little bit. And then when the company thing came about, they talked me into it. So that's kind of the story. But if you know me if you know me, or if you know me for any significant amount of time, I have a hostile personality, so it kind of fits that way too.
Oh, I heard all the stories, bro.
Did you see? I put that up. I made a comment. I can't remember what it was, but we don't tell anybody who's on the show next, just in case. Yeah. And I just made a mention. I was like, well, I said the next guy is someone I've followed forever, one of my favorite assholes in the industry. and the first dude comments, he goes, "So Fouad's coming on?" And I'm like,
I swear I try not to be an asshole, but it's just, Luke said it to me best. He's like, "You're not really an asshole. You're just so honest. You sound like an asshole." And I'm like, oh.
He told a funny story about you when he was on our show. He said Fouad has a way of just, I don't know, he can be such a dick. And then he goes, I go, like what? I go, like give me just an example. And he's like, I don't know, like he'll walk, I don't know, like you got a tie on, you're gonna get us a table. Like he said, and the guy will get you a table. Like,
yeah, and he doesn't even work there.
I swear it's not on purpose, man. I swear to God. My training partner said to me the same thing. He's like, you're such a fucking dick, eh? I go, why? He says it to me. I was helping this kid with his T-bar rows. So he goes, after the kid walked away and he went back.
Slapping him in the back of the head.
No. God. Yeah, I was warming him up. I'm like, come on.
Keep your back tight.
No, so I have this thing in the last couple of years where I've decided to pass on my knowledge when I see somebody doing something fucking really stupid in the gym. It's not something, which is...
He's being nice.
Listen, this is not something I ever did before, because young Fouad was a total ass, like a real asshole. Like if I saw somebody in the gym doing something stupid, I would like point and laugh. Like I was that guy, which is...
You're an idiot.
Yeah.
You.
Exactly. So that's not something I'm proud of. So in the last... And then there was a period of time where I didn't say anything at all, which was good. And then now I've decided that I'm going to be proactive about it. So I call the kid over. I help him with his form. I teach him everything. I send him back over. Paul goes to me, "You're such a fucking asshole." I go, "Why? I just fucking helped the kid with his form." He goes, "Do you see how you did it though?" I go, "What did I do?" Apparently this is what I did. "Hey, come here." And then I fucking yelled at him and sent him back. But in my mind, in my head, I was like, "Hey, buddy, let me talk to you for a minute."
Very politely asked him over.
I could see a video being made of the two different perspectives of what's going on, and then just
what Fouad sees, what actually happened.
The music change.
Yeah,
the music change from one clip to the other.
But that's what it is. I think in my head, I'm seeing something totally fucking different that is like actually happening.
He's providing a service.
Yeah,
Paul's like, "You just berated that poor kid."
But I swear I meant well. That's the thing. So I think that's what Luke's talking about, is I'm not actually an asshole. I just have a way of speaking that doesn't come across the best, I guess.
So it comes naturally to you.
It must be an Arab thing. I don't know. Arabs talk loud and they're very like...
Oh, now he's bringing his entire race into it.
Yeah.
Me and Luke always have to sprinkle. We say we sprinkle a little racism on everything. So.
Oh no, you got a real good blend on that show. That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Oh god.
Anyway,
it's you care a lot and you want that kid's T-bars to be,
I just, what it feels. Maybe it comes off wrong. A lot of people thank me, but it just feels good to me to be that person instead of the other person.
Right.
Some people I feel like I'm annoying, so I'll say, like, before I walk away, I'll be like, "Look, you don't have to do what I'm doing. I'm sorry I interrupted your workout." I just thought like this would work better for you. And, I'll let them go or whatever. But majority of the people are happy that I stopped them to help. So, but I guess maybe I should just try to do it in a softer tone. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe you could write it down and
maybe just
it before you hand it to them. I was thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny that you mentioned, I had it on a list of things to possibly bring up with you. You mentioned Paul, and I have a note here to talk about support networks and then training partners. Those were topics that came up for me. So, just tell us about you trained with Paul a long time. It's one of those, it's one of those kind of like career long stories. Like how long exactly did you guys train together?
I think 2004. I think it's since 2004 we've been training together. So 16 years almost, but I was gone to Toronto for 3 or 4 of those years. So we kind of took a little hiatus there, which probably wasn't good for me. I actually learned how to train by myself, which was bad for me when I came back because then Paul wants to train together again. And I'm like, it took me like 6 months to get back into the groove of having a partner. But he's good, man. He takes a lot of abuse. Like you guys, like we were just talking about, I'm kind of a dick. So he's the perfect mix for me because like if he was the same way I was, we probably gotten into like 1,000 fist fights. He's like the older, more mature, more like let things roll off my back kind of person, where I'm completely opposite. I'm impulsive and like I react to everything. And so we kind of work well together that way mentally, but physically also he'll never quit. He'll never fucking quit. Like me and my other training partner, there used to be 3 of us for a little while, and Paul never gets mad. Okay. He's the guy that like never, ever, you can't get him upset. Okay. We figured out a way to get him upset. We'd put him on a leg press and we would do sets of 20. But when it was his turn, when he just about at 20, I'd be like 5 more. And he would look at me and be like, come on, 5 more. So he would do them because he's just that guy. He'll just do what you tell him. And then he would get to 25, be like 5 more. And he would look at me again and be like, what the fuck? But come on. So he would start doing it. My other partners across the leg press from me, we're both spotting, right? And he would look at me and be like, yeah, tell him to do another 5. So he'd get to 30 and I'd be like, 5 more. And he would look at me like, what the fuck? I just did 10 more than everybody else. It's like, fuck this shit. And you would rack it and fuck off. And we would just double over fucking laughing.
The intention from day one was to make him pissed off.
Yeah. It's just like, there's no way to get him upset. So we found this way and we did it like, we do it every once in a while just to fucking rile him up. But, no, man, it's, you guys know how it is, man. When you have a good partner that actually pays attention, like he's never off like staring at like some girl or some shit. Like when I'm doing my set, he's focused on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
He's doing his set. I'm focused on what he's doing. And we're always trying to like count reps for each other and get each other going past that point and all that stuff. And he's always been like that. And he never fails. I'll never call him and be like, are you ready to go? And he's like, oh, I'm going to skip today. He's never that guy.
Right.
So when you find somebody who cares, like Paul's not a competitor anymore. So Paul cares about my career and me getting better. So when you find somebody who cares about actually making you better, somebody who's never going to fucking skip the gym, and somebody who knows when to push you and pull back at the same time is also extremely important. When you find those 3 things, you just never let that training partner go.
For sure.
Because like he's not just because there's other partners that'll just be like, come on, man, you can do 5 more. Like you can put on another plate. You can put on another plate. But those guys are not good either because then you just, that's how I get injured and shit. Because my ego is going to be like, yeah, that guy's right. I can do another plate. Whereas Paul knows me so well now. He's like, all right, man, that's good. Let's live to fight next week too.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like a good balance of knowing how to push past the point of failure or to failure, and then knowing sometimes when to pull back at the same time.
He's also been hurt too, so he's also just, from experience looking out for you as well.
Yeah, he blames it on me. He's like, you tore my pec. I'm like, I didn't fucking tear your pec.
Physically went in there.
Yeah. No, he came in late one day. It was his fault. He was fucking late. he came in late one day. Me and my other partner were already benching. And he's like, I'll catch up. So he sits down and he skipped like a couple of the warm-ups.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. And then the next thing you know, he tears his pec. And I'm like, okay, I guess it's kind of my fault, but it's your fault for being late. So, yeah. So
the onus is still on him.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, he's been through his own share of shit. He's 46 now. So we've, I don't know. We're good though. We keep pushing. We keep going on.
No, you put up that great picture the other day, like it was a little while ago, where I think he was down on one knee and you were patting him on the back.
Oh, that was great. It was totally an accident.
Who took that shot?
Summer. It's funny. Because Summer started coming to the gym with us. Summer doesn't train like crazy or anything. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, your wife must be a bodybuilder." I'm like, "Nah, she's the brains." But she started coming with us to the gym for a little while, and we were training legs. And I had some of those days where you just have like a seventh gear.
Yeah.
I was like just killing it. It was like one of those workouts where like the last exercise, my energy level was actually like going up.
Right.
And I'm like, most people start to fade. So Paul was fading and I'm still like climbing. And I was just killing him on the squat. We were doing like super, super slow negative squats. And he was done, and he went down to one knee. And I was just walking by, and I put my hand on his shoulder. I was like, "Good set." And she snapped the photo right at the same time, at the exact moment. And I was like, "That's such a good fucking shot." It's funny because people think that shit's planned, and it's not. That was totally like just a candid photo of that thing that happened.
Right.
But that is that picture sums up our fucking relationship. It's like he'll fucking go to the end of the world for me, and.
Yeah.
And I recognize it. You know what I mean? It's like we have a really good mutual respect.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, man. Hey, Dusty, did you want to fire off some of these questions to Fouad here?
I like our questions better.
We didn't even.
I guess we'll let people have their turn.
We did an hour with Fouad. We normally keep people an hour, and we didn't even ask.
It's been an hour.
I know you have multiple podcasts, so.
I got a little time. I got till 1 o'clock, so I got another 45 minutes.
Oh well, we can hit a couple. We won't. We'll make sure you get time for a bathroom break. How's that?
Okay, perfect.
Is that an age joke or a bodybuilding joke?
Oh, hey, a little of both, maybe. A little of both.
Asshole.
I got one here for you.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna look at mine.
I actually had two people ask this. What's the dumbest thing you ever did regarding contest prep and diet?
Oh.
He's like such a list.
There is a list. I told an insulin story last week on our podcast, but oh man, sometimes I don't know how much I should say and how much I shouldn't. Read the question again.
Story of my life.
What's the dumbest thing you ever did regarding contest prep, dieting, etc.?
Well, insulin was probably my biggest downfall. At 2005, I'll tell the story, even though it's fucking horrible. I shouldn't tell the story, but I'm going to tell the story anyway, just so people can not do what I did.
Mm-hmm.
2005, getting ready for the Canadian Nationals. I was at the show. I flew out to Saskatchewan. I think it was Saskatchewan.
No, that was 06.
That was Montreal. Yeah, Montreal. So 2005. 2005 was in Montreal, and I was supposed to. I'm not going to name the coach or anything, but I was supposed to take. We were insulin loading for my carb load, so I was supposed to take X amount of insulin and X amount of GH, and we were going to do that leading up to the show, which is not. I fucking hate insulin. I really, really hate insulin. I don't use it. I've used it a couple times in my career, and it's always been a fucking bad experience. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. If you think we should carb load for the show this way, I'm in, right? I had done it once before, and it worked out well. So I was like, all right. So I loaded. I forget exactly what happened, but I had loaded 80 units of insulin in an insulin syringe, right?
Uh-huh.
But I had also loaded 8 units of GH in an insulin syringe. So both are 80.
Same.
Both are 80, right?
They look the same.
And I put one in one pack and one in the other side of the same pack.
Oh, God.
Now, when it came time to do my, I was supposed to do the 8 units of GH before bed on the Thursday night. I ended up doing the 80 units of insulin and then went to sleep.
You're still alive, in case anyone's wondering. That's good.
Yeah. So I woke up. I went to bed at like midnight, I think. I woke up at like 4 a.m. I felt fucking dizzy. I'm like, I feel weird. I'm like, I gotta take a piss. So I got up to take a piss, kind of stumbled to the bathroom. I thought I must have just been sleeping really hard, so I didn't think anything of it. Stumbled to the bathroom, took a piss, went back to bed. I woke up to the best looking paramedics I've ever seen in my life, because everybody in Montreal is good looking. Picking me. I actually remember that detail, but for some reason, they picked me up and put me on a stretcher and wheeled me out to and then I got like a hazy point. And then I remember being in the ambulance, and then I remember waking up in the hospital. So it's all I remember after the 4 a.m. piss is being picked up and put on a stretcher, being in the ambulance, being in the hospital. And they're like, they gave the sheet. So at the time, I don't know why, maybe our phones weren't as good back then. And I had a printout of what I was supposed to be doing. And my ex-girlfriend at the time gave the printout to the doctor, and the doctor was like, he fucking did this? And she's like, no, that's what he was supposed to do. He did this. And he's like, holy fuck. And he put me on a dextrose drip. And I woke up, and I'm laying in this fucking hospital bed in the emergency, hooked up to dextrose, and they're like, this is what happened, blah, blah. And I'm like, and then I started.
So she figured out what happened?
Well, actually, she called Paul, and Paul was like, put some cookies in his mouth.
Kill him with a cookie.
Does it fucking work? How the fuck does that work? So
right, but she figured out that you mixed up the shots, is what I mean.
No, she just called the ambulance.
Oh, okay.
So, because
how did she know that you needed it? Were you just?
I was in a. She said I wouldn't wake up, and I was in a pool of my own sweat. Because when you're hypoglycemic,
yeah.
So I had been sweating all night, literally like the bed was soaked. So, and she couldn't wake me up. So she called the ambulance. Ambulance came, got me to the hospital. Yeah. Anyway, so I wake up in the hospital, and they're like, what happened? And I start replaying everything, and I'm like, oh my God, I fucking took 80 units of fucking insulin.
Holy shit.
And they're like, well, you're an idiot, and you're lucky you're not dead, and this is fucking insane. Even this paper that I'm holding in my hand is fucking insane, which it wasn't. Now that I look back, it's not that abnormal. But to a doctor, obviously it's insane. Yeah. And so they're like, you have to stay here. We have to hook you up to, and then at that point, I feel fine now. I've woken up. I'm on dextrose. Like the hypoglycemia is worn off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's Friday now. The show is tomorrow.
So I gotta go.
So I say to my ex, I'm like, I gotta fucking get out of here. I got a show tomorrow. And she's like, they're not gonna let you leave. You shouldn't leave. And I'm like, oh, I gotta take a piss. I didn't have to take a piss. I just wanted to see what I looked like. So I take my little thing and I'm wheeling myself to the bathroom. And I get to the bathroom and I'm fucking shredded. Like every
I can hear Aceto's voice. You're gonna be shredded.
You're gonna be peeled.
No, dude, listen. Every ounce of water on my body was gone. Like I was fucking. And this is not to say you guys should do this. Don't. I
was going to say, wait.
Well, because you sweat it all out, right?
I'm not giving out a fucking prescription. I'm lucky I didn't die. But because I had sweat so much, I fucking was just right. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I feel good. I look great. I got to get the fuck out of here.
Right.
I go back to the bed. I ask the doctor. He comes back. I go, is there anything keeping me here? He goes, no, but we don't feel like you should leave until the dextrose drip is done. You need to get the sugar in your body. And I'm like, but I feel great. And he goes, I don't think you should leave. I go, you can't make me stay, right? He goes, no. I go, okay, I'm out of here. He goes, well, you got to sign a waiver saying you're leaving. I'm like, okay, cool. So I sign a waiver. I fucking bounce. And all I have on is a pair of hospital pants and no shirt. And I call my coach and I'm like, this is what happened. What should I do? He's like, start eating fucking brownies. I'm like, okay. I'm like, awesome. So I stop at the gift shop on the way out. I grab a bunch of like Danishes and brownies.
It's nothing like hospital brownies.
Oh, it's so great. So anyway, I get in the back of a cab, still wearing no shirt, and I have no shoes. Just
no shoes.
No shoes, no shirt, just hospital pants and my baked goods.
Bodybuilding douchebag 101.
Walking around just shredded.
So I tell the guy, take me to this fucking hotel, whatever. I go to the host hotel. I eat all the fucking brownies. I get there. I get out of the car, and I'm walking through the lobby to get to the elevator to go back to my room.
No shirt on.
No shirt on, no shoes. All the competitors are there because it's Friday.
Look at this fucking guy.
Guess who? Ron, you'd know this. Guess who wrote a fucking article about me being an asshole?
Who?
Gary Bartlett.
Oh, I was just going to say Gary.
Gary Bartlett writes a fucking article in Muscle Mag about how big an asshole I am and how arrogant I am. And I walk through the hotel in no shirt and that blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you motherfucker, I'm almost dead. I'm almost dead like the night.
Oh, man.
So I get this huge reputation for being this cocky fuck. Nobody knows the story. And I'm
and the legend was born.
So then we carb loaded some more and everything. I woke up the next day, got on stage, and won my class. And crushed it. I looked amazing. My body soaked up all that carbs. I was like, I actually spilled over a little bit. That's probably why I didn't get my pro card. But I won the super heavyweight class that year. And that's all. So long story short, don't use insulin. It's fucking horrible. And
but sometimes you win.
Sometimes you get away with it, I guess.
Sometimes you die.
That's probably the worst, biggest fucking mistake I ever made in my career. Because it was literally, I'm surprised I didn't die. Like, you can't take 80 units of fucking insulin and just go to sleep. You can't. It's a rest.
That amount of time. I mean, holy. I'm thinking about just the math of when I've taken it, when I feel it. I mean, when I first started taking it, I still own the stores, and it would hit me and my hands would start going.
Yep.
And I'm looking at a customer like, I hope he goes soon, because if not, I'm about to slam a carb force right in front of him.
That's right. Yeah, you have to. And then, you know that feeling, even when you get to that point, you almost start eating like a fucking homeless person.
Yes.
You just want to, you're so hungry and you just want the feeling to go away. You just start smashing anything and everything.
You overcompensate greatly.
And I think that's what I did for the show. That's probably why I wasn't 100% sharp the next day, because I went too far. But you know how it is in your carb loading. Somebody says you can have a brownie, you end up having 50 brownies. Yeah. So that's wasn't a good day, but it ended up being okay, I guess.
Shit.
All right. I got one for you that I think it might be tough to answer, but I'm curious because of your personality especially. How did you keep your mental game strong when you were down with your arm? How hard was that, and what'd you do?
Well, luckily, my mental game sucks.
This is actually a client of mine. Her boyfriend, who's also a client of mine, just tore his tricep. So
this is what I've learned. My mental game blows throughout my career. If I have any regrets in my bodybuilding career, is that I wasn't able to live in the present, and I was always worried and anxious about something. So I just want to state for the record that my mental game fucking sucks, and it's a constant battle for me. But when it comes to injuries, I've had so many that I've learned how to deal with it. And I think that's why the tricep surgery didn't kill me, because I was like, okay, you've been here before. It's just a matter of putting one foot in front of the other. So, Ron's been through this with his knees, and I'm sure knees is way worse than elbows. But every tear I've ever had, it's just, okay, simple math or simple equation. Go get a diagnosis, figure out what it is, get a PRP shot, take the time off they need, and then get back when you can. Now, the same thing happened with my tricep. I was like, okay, diagnosis, the elbow bone just broke off, and they had surgery, and they fixed everything, right? Mm-hmm. They're like, don't touch it. Don't fucking do anything. Don't move it. Don't pick up anything. Okay, come back in 8 weeks. So I was like, all right. But the only way I could keep going was by not sitting at home. Mm-hmm. Like, the way I kept myself mentally sharp and not bedridden with depression, was just doing everything I could do. So I would literally, like, there's pictures of me with like my cast on doing seated calf raises. Right. Because I'm like, okay, if I can't train my upper body, I can train my lower body. So I'd go to the gym and do seated calf raises. I would still get up and do my cardio in the morning. I tried to do whatever I could just to like keep going to the gym, because that's all it is. It was just like, all I was trying to do is keep the normalcy of my life. I did not want to lay in fucking bed and just wait for this thing to heal. So I'm like, okay, what did I do every day? Every day I got up and did cardio. I'm going to keep doing that because I can. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to keep getting my meals in, because if I start eating a bunch of crap or start missing meals, it's just going to take longer for this thing to heal.
Right.
So I kept my diet the same, because I figured that's the fastest way to get tissue to heal is the diet we're already doing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and as far as weight training goes, I'm just going to split my lower body into 3 different days. So I'll do quads one day, hamstrings one day, calves the other day. And then on a 4th day, I would go in and do like one arm bench press. Like I would do all the machines or even a dumbbell. And I just wouldn't do anything with my left arm. And it kept me sane. It gave me a reason to go. It got the sweat out. And you go, sometimes you're depressed or bummed out about something. You go train, you feel better.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it was. That's kind of what kept me sane, was I just went and did something, got a sweat in, and then came home. And I was like, okay, this is going to be okay. And then, I don't know, enough time passes and it's fine. And you're like, okay, now yesterday I put up a video benching 3 plates on the Smith machine, but it's like my elbow feels fine. Actually, the bigger problem was the elbow, the tricep surgery fucked up my shoulder.
Yeah.
Because my tricep was too weak to do some of the stuff I was doing when I came back. So my shoulder got fucked up. So I just had that repaired, and now I'm starting to feel better again. So anyway, the whole point of anybody who's going through, I get through these messages all the time. I got an injury. What do I do? Train everything that you can train and leave the injured area alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best. Keep the normalcy of your life as close to what it was as possible, and the time will pass and you'll be fine.
I remember being, it was 13 days after getting my quad reattached. I was back in the gym with a crutch.
Yeah.
And I was having the guys were loading the hammer machines for me so I could do some chest and, arms and stuff. But yeah, and I remember the day of going back to the gym, I'm just like, oh, okay, it's all good. I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I remember that feeling too. I was literally I remember sitting on the seated calf raise with my arm hanging over it, and I'm like, it's going to be okay. I can still get a pump. I can still come here. I can still do my thing. Mm-hmm. And then, there's obviously days where you go like this, like, obviously, Ron, like you'd have like a stretch of like 3 or 4 days, you're like, I'm going to be okay. And then there'd be one day where you're like, fucking life sucks. And, those are the days where I just force myself to go do some cardio or something, just to not let myself wallow in that feeling.
Yeah. I got a good one that I think you'll like. It's totally off the map of what we've been talking about. Someone wants to know your favorite racing moment. They know you're a car guy. I mean, how often do you go to the track?
I haven't been that often, to be honest with you. Only 2 or 3 times, but only because I can't afford it. Like, it's fucking expensive to go to the track, because every time you go to the track, if you do the quarter mile, it's not a big deal. It might just be a set of tires. But if you're doing a road track where you want to actually around a track, you fuck your brake. Like, I went with my 2015 Corvette to the track, like a road course, and I have carbon ceramic brakes. And for those who don't know cars, carbon ceramic brakes are supposed to last forever. They're like $10,000 for the brakes. I went to the track once and they started squeaking. The fucking guys at the shop are like, what did you do to this fucking thing? My tires were melted. Like, you're a bad driver if you melt your tires. Like, they literally looked like a candle. You melt a candle and like, like the rubber on the edges of my tires looked like it was dripping off. I'm like, holy fuck. So it's too expensive to do all the time. Like, I can't afford it. I don't have that kind of money. But that was probably my favorite moment was that day, because we went to the road course, because quarter mile is not my thing. We went to the road course, and Dorian had, those of you who don't know, Dorian Hamilton had a Shelby GT 500 with like, I don't know, fucking 750 horse or some shit. And I had my vet, and we were racing around the track, and it was just amazing. It was an amazing day. Like, I was killing everybody on the track. Like there was all these guys that had like numbers on their cars and like roll cages, and like I'm just fucking blown by everybody, and I don't know how to do shit. It's literally the car is driving itself. I don't know what the fuck is going on. It's just like I'm just mashing the gas and the car's doing its own thing. But there was one point where me and him are really competitive. So we're both flying down one of the straights. I totally overshot the turn. He did too. We both ended up in the grass. We had a good laugh about it after. His car actually got fucked up. He broke his drive shaft and had to have it towed home. But I don't know. There's no exact moment, but just going to the track, going to the road course, especially going with friends. It's like when I have more money, if I ever get to the point where I have a good amount of money, it's going to be a weekly thing for me, because it's such a rush of adrenaline because you can't do that shit on the street. Like I know some people do, but like
to do that stuff.
Yeah. To go on a road course and push your car to the ultimate limit and be terrified that you might flip it or it might blow up. It's fucking fun for me. I don't know. I love speed. I love driving fast. So the track is definitely. I always tell people if we had the money when I was younger, I would have been a race car driver and not a fucking bodybuilder. But we grew up kind of poor, so my dad was like, "Here's a pair of soccer cleats. Go play soccer. Fuck off."
Nice of him to give you the cleats.
So that was that.
That's awesome.
Oh man, what's the deal with the car thing? Do you have a lot of fans that connect with you over that? Like I know you do a lot of the, hey guys, which one do you like better? Or
that's just I want to buy a car and I can't pick which one I want to buy.
Right, you're looking for the fan votes.
I think no, I think inherently, if you're a bodybuilder and you're like a macho guy, you probably like cars. Mm-hmm. Like most bodybuilders I know, like I was shocked when Luke, because I know Luke drives like this like big truck, well, what he thinks is a big truck, but he drives this fake truck, and he like
the Ranger or whatever.
Yeah, the Ranger, the lifted Ranger or whatever, and he's like, I thought he would be like a truck guy at least, and he's not. Right. And I'm shocked because most bodybuilders, like, even if they don't have an awesome car, they love like awesome either fast cars or like big trucks or something. But so there's a good chunk of my fan base. Like I didn't realize, I thought it would be bigger, but there's probably like, I don't know the exact number, but there's a good chunk of my fan base that loves either trucks or fast cars or something. And I kind of think they go together. Like, the high testosterone, really aggressive kind of attitude, it kind of goes with cars, no?
Agree with that.
Very hostile.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I see a hostile racing team in the future.
That, you know what, man, that would be a dream come true. I have so many dreams for the supplement company, and that's the terrifying part. I see things like, you see companies like First Form, and you see companies like, Redcon has done pretty crazy things, and companies that's been around for a long time, like fucking, like Mutant, PVL, and Allmax, and these companies have been around forever, and they're doing well. And I'm like, I wonder if I could be one of those companies, because a lot of these companies pop up and disappear.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I don't want to be one of those companies. And the scary part to me is this: I'm a firm believer that if you give people the quality that they're looking for, you'll always have a good customer base because they'll believe in you, right?
Right.
The sad thing I think about the supplement industry in some cases is that you don't have to have a good product. You just have to have great marketing.
True.
And that scares me because I can't. One of the things I think I pride myself on the most. We have we're launching the company with 4 products. And one of the things I think I pride myself on the most is we put a full dose of everything in each product, and they cost a good amount of money. So I'm like, am I hurting myself by being overly honest, or is this the way it should be and everybody else is going to follow suit? You know what I mean? There's like that that dichotomy that you're like, okay, do I do the lower dose, higher marketing, or do I do the proper dose, more expensive product so I can't afford a ton of marketing? Like, it's like this little game you got to play, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I guess time will tell. Like, I don't know. We're gonna see what happens. But that's the vision of the company, is we're willing to shave a little bit off our margins to make sure that the product is
See, but I think it's a good route if as long as you're not putting expensive ingredients that people don't care about in them.
Yeah, but I don't think people care. But that's the thing that I'm worried about, Dusty, because I don't know if people care about a lot of ingredients. Like, people only care about the main ones that they know about.
Yeah, if they can see them happen. No, I totally know what you mean. But like, I think like John, for example, with Grant, I think that's where they missed in the beginning.
Why?
Was well, because I mean, mathematically, it didn't work.
No, I know that. But what ingredient? But can you?
No, I just mean because he went so extreme on things that so I always use this term, but nerds like us are into, like, knowing that this does this. And I think at the end of the day, if you really look, you want to create a great product, but you need to be thinking am I solving something in the industry or not? Because at the end of the day, if you look, especially in the States, you know this, we put drugs in our products. So it's difficult here because it's like your product, John, is absolutely better, but this one makes me feel like I'm on Adderall. So they're going to Adderall.
That's, you know what? That's actually the biggest issue because you know what? You're so right, but I feel like I want to create more bodybuilding nerds. Like, that's why I tell people like that's why I tell people our products for serious lifters, because I want everybody to use it. But you're right. The weekend warrior just wants 1,000 milligrams of stims, and they want to bounce off the fucking wall when they're lifting weights.
But you know who successfully did what you're looking for? Labrada.
Really? I don't know their products too well.
So what I mean by that is he stuck to his game plan. I've known them since like the beginning, and they were battling out with EAS when they were in their peak. Yeah. And he has never, if you do your homework, went for the ballsy product that's edgy and could get him in trouble. He just stayed in his lane and has just produced high quality, and exactly what you're talking about. Like, if you know Labrada as a person, if you know him as a bodybuilder, if you know him as a company, it's straight up everything across the board, and their product is ridiculous. So it can definitely be done.
I think you're taking the right approach, though, Fouad, is you're matching the brand approach to what you represent.
It's your name.
I agree, but at the same time, there's always this. Is it a business or is it a passion?
Right.
Do you understand? Because it's like Dusty said. If it's a business, then I just create a cracked out product that people are going to fucking buy because they feel like they're cracked out. Mm-hmm. And if it's a passion, then I create a product that I want to use myself, which most people are going to look at and go, well, it only has 300 milligrams of caffeine. That's shit. Because, you know what I mean? But that's...
Yeah, all of us are going, that's a ton. Well, I know what you mean, though. No, I agree with you.
We did 300. Yeah,
that's a perfect line, I think.
Yeah,
200's not enough, 400's crack.
I felt like 200 was a little low, and I felt like 4 was too much.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But I think, you know what I would say, Fouad, with that is, and I keep going back to him, is I look at this. When I was working for the stores I bought and now have sold over 5 years ago, a lot of the I'm going to put crack in a bottle companies came and went. Yeah. Labrada is still here and still climbing, and he's bigger now than he was then. So I'll take his long game and his tax returns over theirs for sure. Yeah,
that's a good point. I just, I think our toughest job is going to be educating
for sure
people. Because it's like you said, like, we're bodybuilding nerds, right? Mm-hmm. But I want to build more bodybuilding nerds.
You're in the time to do that, though. Look at all the tools we have. You know, your Instagram, your IGTV. Yeah. You know, like I had this conversation with someone the other day. Was no matter what happens, you have to try to remember that you live in the best time to ever live in every possible way ever. You know, like the amount of power that we have as individuals now to actually change and control our future is overwhelming. I don't even think most people grasp it.
But, going back to Dusty's point, what's sad, I actually had a couple people say that to me. I said something in an Instagram post about I said something like, I want to make a product that works, not just something that feels good. Right. And a couple people said, well, if I don't feel it, then it's not working. And I'm like, well, yeah and no. I mean, if it's just like got 800 milligrams of caffeine in it, then you're going to feel it. Doesn't mean it's doing anything.
Yeah. Right. It's hindering your workout.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the kind of message I'm trying to like get out. I'm like, it doesn't, just because you're bouncing off the walls doesn't mean that's a good product.
Yeah.
There has to be more to it, right?
We got to do an army, like that. I think that's what Andy has done with First Form is he has all his bodybuilding nerds working for him,
Yeah.
I utilize a product that's it's a multi-level marketing company product. It's phenomenal, but it's a good example for you. And when you're thinking about your marketing, they were in stores as a supplement company for 3 years, could not get above 3 million in sales, which is not small, but when you're shooting for the moon, it's not getting it done. They switched to MLM, and now last year they did 286 million.
What's MLM?
Same multi-level marketing.
Multi-level marketing,
yeah. So same, but the exact same product. Because the problem was, much like you're saying, a guy walks into GNC, kid behind the counter doesn't have the depth to grasp their product.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, this is caffeine. You'll like it.
Yeah.
So when you can hit that medium, though, the point is there is a way to make that brand click. I mean, I don't think you'll be mad if you're doing 286 million in a couple of years.
No, trust me, I won't. No, we're gonna
be good with that.
We're gonna see. We're gonna do our best anyway. We're gonna do our best, and I kind of had a mission statement where I said, look, I'm not gonna put anything out that I don't use myself, and if I do put out something that I don't use myself, I will say, this is for the guys that love a ton of stims. This is not my pre-workout. We just made this for you guys that want to be cracked out.
Right.
That's genius, though. That keeps you that honesty too, though. I don't know. I think the brand will work. I mean, that's what I loved about Mutant when I signed with them. They literally said, "We will never tell you have to use a product. You have to tell people use a product." So people see the 4 products that I use all the time, and those are the ones I use.
Yeah. That's SciTech had that deal with me too. I was, and that's a mistake I made when I was younger. I was with Muscle Tech, and they would kind of just make me sign stuff.
Yep.
And I would just sign whatever they wanted me to sign, but. When I got to SciTech, I was like, look, guys, they had like 200 SKUs, and I was like, I'm only gonna market the stuff that I use myself. I'm not gonna tell people I use all this other stuff because I don't know what it is. So yeah, that's a good company when you know they're not gonna force you just to sign shit just to say, you know what I mean, when you don't really use it. It's integrity that matters,
For sure.
So
well, you I think that's one of the reasons why people love the stuff you put out is because, you see you've been a bit of a dick over the years, but the honesty and integrity has always been there. Yeah. Being honest is what is the big part of playing the long game, like I said at the beginning. So, but we kept you for an hour and a half, man. We really appreciate you coming on. It's been our longest interview, actually. So, thanks, man.
I hope it does well. Thanks for having me on, guys. I like what you guys are doing. I'm glad. I'm glad more, but like I said, people think we're competing and we're not. You can have 2 favorites or 3 favorites or 4 favorites. They don't have to be like one show. And I'm glad you guys are doing it because the more real shit there is out there, the better than just these guys who are claiming to know stuff that they don't. You know what I mean? So I'm happy you guys are doing this too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, man.
Okay, guys.
Adios.
Thank you very much for everything, man. We'll talk soon.
Look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay, guys.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Dusty.
That was a solid one, man. I love that we have no idea where things are going with this show. It's we have our plan.
It's funny. I hardly asked any of the questions because we got talking, Yeah,
but that's what that's what he was saying about his show, and we've gotten the same review too. Is if we were sitting at a table eating food, then people would have just had lunch with us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and then I got a bunch more questions while we were on that I've now missed as well.
Sorry, guys. It's not that we ignore them, but as you see, this is literally how it happens. We don't have much of a plan. I think the questions are great if we can get to them, but if a guest like Fouad that's experienced in being interviewed is on, let him roll, and I think people are going to be stoked to hear. I love seeing the, I hope what people grab from this was even the growth that he's had, like he talked about as a businessman, as a person, and as a bodybuilder over the last, since 06 is crazy. And as much as I know Fouad is a, I just call him up front. Like I love East Coast people, and I don't know where he's from, but in the States, those are blunt people.
Well, he's from Windsor, which is like just across the bridge from Detroit.
Yeah, so perfect. So he is an East Coast guy. I just call it blunt. And so it's not offensive to me. And I think that's why a lot of people gravitate to him, because it's honest. And I think a lot of people prefer to be lied to, so it's comfortable. And Fouad just cuts the shit because he ain't got time for it. So your T-bar rows are fucked. Let me show you how to fix them. You're welcome.
Yeah. Let me show you how to fix them. You're welcome. You've never trained with Fouad, eh?
No, nope.
Oh, okay. We trained together in Germany one time. It was a FIBO Expo, right? And we trained at it was like 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
We went to the gym and hammered back, and this was the year that he was supposed to compete at FIBO, but they canceled the show.
Oh God.
And he had to go anyways because they already bought his ticket.
Right.
SciTech already had him booked. So he dieted for a show, and then a week out, it was canceled. But he had to go all the way to Germany and sit there with a sucked-in face.
I'd be so pissed.
Try to stay on his diet somewhat because he had another show planned.
Right.
And so anyways, we went and hammered a workout one night. It was like the Sunday night of FIBO, And we did some heavy barbell rows and a bunch of hard shit. And then at the very end, he goes, "Well, what do you think?" And I remember thinking, wow, I don't ever want Fouad to think I'm a pussy.
Right.
Right. I can't let that happen. So I just said, well, we haven't done any rack deads yet. and he's like, okay. So we went over to racks, and we, 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plate. It's like 10:30 at night by this point.
Yeah, you've been at a booth for 10 hours earlier in the day.
and I mean, I could tell Fouad was fucking tired because he's dieted. He's like shredded. And he looks at me, he's like, "So what do you think? Do we go to 5 plates?" And I was like, "Yep." And I was just trying to be tough because I didn't want Fouad to tell anyone I was a pussy. But then afterwards, he's like, "You realize I feel like garbage, right?" And it was just kind of funny. I didn't want him to think I was a pussy.
I wasn't really thinking about you.
I was really thinking about how fucked up he was,
That's hysterical.
So, well, we had a good session, but he's always been a straight shooter. So, that the whole thing I said about, building a reputation over years and years, and honesty is a huge part of that,
Sure.
I mean, I think
that I watch, I literally will check his page and just scan for something. Not that I'm looking for new information, but like he said, I love following the guys that are still living it. So much of the game has changed. He is just like you. He's went with the game. He's doing his social media and stuff, but really all he's doing is letting everyone know what he's been doing for the last 20 years.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff. So I'm sure everyone's going to love that episode.
Sure.
We went extra long though, Dusty. So I think you got to get to the gym, don't you?
Sir, out of here.
You know what I got to do? I got to go down to West Coast Iron and receive all the new cardio that we bought.
I forgot that was today. We're probably jamming you right against the wall with this timeline.
Yeah. So as soon as I hang up here, I'm going to eat a meal, and then it's down to the gym to meet the guys that big semi trucks rolling in. We got all new treadmills and ellipticals, and so it's going to be an interesting day. We've got a forklift. Got to put them all up on the fucking top level with a forklift.
Awesome. Everybody go watch what it looks like when you see $100,000 in equipment. It's fun.
Yeah.
New equipment.
Yeah, a little bit of an upgrade. It's that time of year you want all these new December, January people to come in and see a nice long line of clean new treadmills.
It's actually perfect timing. I mean, seriously, from a business standpoint, for you to need to do that now was at least a good time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, last year for Christmas we added like 20 pieces of equipment from that Gold's that closed.
Yep.
Remember the pendulum squat we bought and all that stuff?
Yeah.
So it's 2 Christmases in a row we got some pretty big upgrades. So we're pretty happy about that.
Buying me gifts for when I come up. It's all the stuff I use, like Matrix step mills. Yeah, that's my favorite. Thanks.
Yeah, there you go. I was thinking of you, Dusty.
Team player.
Okay, thanks, man. Remember, everybody, hit the subscribe button. Follow us along. Make sure you know when the episodes are coming out every single Wednesday, no matter what. I think one of us would have to lose an arm or something for us to not record. I'd be in the hospital with the Skype.
Yeah, we could get it done.
We get it done. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Remember, it's just bodybuilding.